If you are looking to create a great return policy for your dropshipping store, keep watching this video and stay until the end because we will also give you a basic template to use for your new return policy. Now, once you start dropshipping or selling online products, you will experience firsthand how important it is to give your customers the choice to return the item they purchased. These days, there isn't an online store without this option. That's why customers won't trust your products if you don't offer a great return policy. Even when buying from a traditional store, they have the choice to return it. And it's only normal, as it may happen the size doesn't fit them or they just change their mind about the color. The point is, a return policy gives customers the security and the freedom they need to make the purchase. In a poll conducted by All Business, 91% of consumers said that a store's return policy was important when making a purchasing decision. That's why we think this video is needed. So keep watching if you want to find out why a dropshipping return policy is mandatory and how it should look or what it should include. See you after the intro. Why do you need a return policy for your dropshipping business? And what is a dropshipping return policy exactly? Well, this is an agreement made between you, the online store owner, and your customer. It's a standard page that needs to be on your online store containing a set of rules that define under what circumstances the returns of your products can happen. In other words, it sets the ground for the when and how of your product returns. A straightforward return policy will let all your customers know what is the process they need to follow when it comes to refunds and returns. Once you have the right return policy in place, you can avoid any discussions between you and your customers if, let's say, they don't like the product anymore. It's all there in policy, so if you don't accept returns because they don't like the product anymore, then they will have to accept it as it was clearly explained in the policy. So, if you ever thought you don't need a return policy, think again. It seems at least 30% of products ordered on online stores are returned as compared to the brick-and-mortar stores, where this percentage is just 8.89%. More than that, 92% of customers in a survey said they would buy again if a store's return process is easy. And, in another survey, 67% of shoppers say they will check the return policy before making a purchase. All these statistics say one thing only. You need a return policy when dropshipping if you are serious about your business. Having a return policy will definitely help increase your conversion rate, avoid unprofessional discussions, and set clear rules for customers to follow in case they want to return an item. Now, what should be covered in a return policy? A standard return policy should include the following basic rules. What happens if a customer receives a defective or damaged product? What happens if a customer wants to return their product? What happens if a customer wants to cancel their order? What happens if a customer wants to modify their order? Can the customer return the product after more than X days after receiving it? Does the customer need to contact the store owner first before returning the product? Who is going to pay for the shipping costs of returning the item? Can your customer return the item because he or she decided they want a different size of the same product? These are some of the questions you need to answer through a well-written return policy. Watch on as we will talk more about these points in this next part. Now, it's true that as a dropshipper you can have a big problem when it comes to handling returns and refunds. That's because you don't manage your own inventory, and if your products are shipped from China, for example, and your customers are located in US and UK, then the return of the products, it can get really complicated, and this could mean a lot of angry customers and negative reviews. Fortunately, all these changed in the last couple of years, with the appearance of marketplaces like AppScenic that have products from top suppliers all over the world, some even located in your country. Dropshipping platforms and their suppliers means you now have the choice to put together a great hassle-free, customer-centric return policy. Here's what we think it's mandatory to set clear in your return policy. 1. Which are the items that can be returned or exchanged? You need to specify exactly if all the items are returnable or exchangeable, and if there are any exceptions, all or just some. This depends on what kind of store you own, but most stores offer the same return policy for their entire product catalog. Now, if you have a digital item store, then you probably can't accept returns for all of them. Or maybe during the final sales season you can't or don't want to offer exchange options for some products. The same for customizable products. You probably don't want to accept returns for a custom t-shirt that has a message printed like "Happy Birthday, John." If you use a specific marketplace where you can choose from multiple suppliers like AppScenic, then you need to check with the supplier that ships your products before making this decision. Check their return policy, and then add that info to your own policy. It's easier when you have a store built around only a couple of products or maybe a small niche, and it gets more complicated to create a return policy when you have a general store with hundreds or even thousands of products, especially if you use more than one single supplier. Also, did you know that on AppScenic Marketplace the returns are guaranteed, as payments are escrowed between you and the suppliers? If you use more suppliers, make sure you cover all their return terms in your own return policy. 2. What's the time frame for things to be returned or exchanged? This is another rule you need to add to your return policy. Most of the time, stores have a return time frame of 14, 30, or even 60 days after the product was delivered. In case you're using a marketplace like AppScenic, then check with the supplier you use and see what their return policy says about the time frame. And then you decide if you agree with that, or maybe you want to slightly modify it for your store. Of course, this needs to be modified in a way that doesn't go against the supplier's one, as they will need to actually return the product. One important fact to keep in mind is that some regions have specific and strict rules regarding a specific minimum amount of days for customers to return their order. And just to give you an example, in Europe, customers have the right to cancel and return their order within 14 days without giving any reasons behind their decision. This is exactly what the latest EU law states. If you bought a product or a service online or outside of a shop by telephone, mail order, or from a door-to-door salesperson, you also have the right to cancel and return your order within 14 days, for any reason and without a justification. 3. What are the conditions in which an item can be returned? Are you okay if your customers return an item they already damaged or opened? For example, if you sell clothes, is it okay if they send that item with the tag removed? And what exactly makes an item non-refundable? Again, you need to decide this after you talk with the supplier that ships your items. Only after you see their return policy, you can decide how to define your own to avoid miscommunication. Check with your supplier if they accept the following conditions. Is it okay if the returned item is slightly worn? Can it be used or not? How does the package have to look? Can it be opened, or does it need to be fully sealed? Is it okay if some tags are missing? Should the customer return the item in the original packaging? After you get an answer or check their return policy for the answers, then you can choose what does apply to your own customers and add all the rules regarding the conditions of the items in your own policy. 4. How will the refunding process go? This is mainly about how will you pay back the customer. Will you use the payment method and the currency they have used to buy the item? Or maybe you only want to give them a store credit in return. For example, a coupon or a voucher. Or maybe you agree to give your customers items of equal value in return. Also, one more thing you should specify in your return policy is the time it may take for the funds to get back into your customers' bank accounts. For dropshippers, this is a decision that they have to make for themselves only after checking what their suppliers have in their return policy. As we said before, you can copy their actions or decide against them as long as your return policy doesn't promise something that your supplier is not able to deliver. 5. Who pays for the shipping costs? In your return policy, you also need to specify who pays for the shipping costs in case of a return. Is it you, the online store, or is the customer who has to take that on? So, you have a few options. Now, this depends on what your supplier agrees to and what you think works better for your customers. Most suppliers on AppScenic, for example, offer free returns for damaged products, wrong quantity products, and products looking not as described. But just to be on the safe side, before deciding anything, just check again what is the return policy for the products you imported to your store. 6. What will your customers need to do before returning the item? This is where you decide what is the first step your customers need to do once they decide they want to return an item ordered from your store. This is highly important as well, and if you don't make this clear on your store or return policy, then you will get lots of frustrated customers, confused about what they need to do. Some online store owners have a special form that a customer needs to complete in order for the return to happen. Others just ask their customers to send them an email before actually returning the item. Again, all these can be decided together with your supplier. See what they agree on and then make this clear in your return policy and on your store too. Now, let's sum up. A clear return policy will give customers the reassurance they need to purchase an item from your store. When you are dropshipping, mostly everything that has to do with returns and refunds comes down to your supplier. That's why it's hugely important to choose a supplier you can trust to make the return process as smooth as possible. So, before choosing a supplier, even on AppScenic Marketplace, make sure you are okay with their return policy. Reliable suppliers should have a clear and easy return process and can reply fast to all your customer questions. We recommend that you should always keep an eye on the whole returning process so you can be sure your customers get their money back or get their replacements in a short period of time, and also make sure you are not losing money as well. What's clear is that a great return policy is an advantage for your store in the long term. Customers will always prefer stores that make it easy for them to return an item than when the whole process is just complicated or confusing. Now, as we promised, if you don't know where to get started, you can find a return policy template in the description of this video. We will put the download link below, so feel free to grab it and modify it for your own needs. With that being said, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and please leave us a comment below and let us know what you would like to see in our next videos. Until next time, happy dropshipping!